All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice exam series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're turning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Turk can always tell when Carla is annoyed because she will either roll her eyes, cross her arms, or tell him that nothing is wrong. Although these things don't always happen simultaneously, Turk still knows something is wrong. These behaviors together are considered what? So we're looking at all these behaviors as a set. And when we have a set of responses or even a set of stimuli, we call those classes. Now, how do we know when something is considered a class? Well, when we're dealing with responses, those responses are typically going to serve the same function or evoke the same response from the people around them. Essentially, it's having the same purpose. It's serving the same purpose. It's leading to the same outcome. So in this case, we have a situation where Turk knows Carla is annoyed because she rolls her eyes, crosses her arms, or says nothing is wrong. And even though these things don't always happen at the same time, they all serve the same purpose or evoke the same reaction that Carla is annoyed. So we have a group of responses serving the same function. What do we call these? A response. Now, this is where we have to be very specific. A response is a single instance of behavior. In this case, we have multiple types of behaviors and multiple responses that are serving the same purpose. So they're a class, and they're going to be considered a response class. Then you have a stimulus and a stimulus class. We're not looking at the stimuli here. We're looking at the responses of rolling eyes, crossing arms, saying nothing is wrong. What we have is a group of responses that are serving the same purpose, which is going to make them be a response class. Sophia is working with the client who's learning to use utensils when eating meals. The client struggles with motor skills and sometimes will spill food or drinks on themselves. Sophia wants to help the client improve in these areas, but also maintain the client's dignity following any spills. How can Sophia do this? We always want to make sure we're maintaining client dignity at all times. And it doesn't matter their age, their developmental level, their skill level. We want to treat them like we would treat anyone else. And part of maintaining client dignity is trying to make meaningful change in their lives. Ultimately, we want to work ourselves out of a job and get to the point where our clients can handle themselves in social situations in a socially valid, meaningful way. In this case, we have a situation where Sophia has a client who needs to learn to use utensils when eating meals. That's a very socially valid behavior because as you get older, everybody uses utensils. It's going to be meaningful socially for this client to be able to use utensils. The client also spills food or drink on themselves. Again, it's going to be very meaningful for the client to not spill food or drink on themselves when eating and drinking with others. So if Sophia wants to help the client improve while also maintaining the client's dignity following spills, how can Sophia do this? And remember, you want to think about being socially valid. What's going to be meaningful in that client's life? A, ignore any time the client spills on themselves. Do not draw attention to it until after the meal is over. Well, if the client is spilling all over themselves, ignoring it isn't going to make it go away, especially if it's in a social gathering. People are going to notice. So we can't just have the client pretend it's not happening. B, use prompts and other assistance to help the client clean up messes independently. Yes, Sophia is working with this client. It would be a good opportunity to use incidental or naturalistic teaching and work on cleaning up when you spilled food or drink, because everyone eventually will spill food or drink. So it's not an uncommon thing. It's a lot more uncommon to ignore it and act like it doesn't happen. Sophia should use the situation to teach a skill. C, clean up the mess for the client so that there are no social consequences. Sophia is not always going to be there to clean the mess up for our clients. It's very important that our clients start to become independent with skills, because you, as the technician, and even the supervisor and the behavior analyst, are not always going to be there to help. So that level of independence is very important. D, find other accommodations that will help the client avoid using utensils at mealtime. Again, that's just a temporary solution to a problem that's still going to exist. Eventually, hopefully, the client will have to use utensils at some point. And so if Sophia wants to teach the skill and promote dignity, she can help the client learn to clean up these messes independently and use this as a teaching opportunity. Ignoring the problem isn't going to make it go away. Each Tuesday, there is a team building event in the office that involves puzzles and games. Whoever wins the event is allowed to leave work early on Wednesday. This has led to a consistent increase in performance at these events. What consequence has led to this increase? All right, we have a consequence question. And the first thing we want to know about a consequence is, how does it affect future behavior? Well, in the question, it says this consequence has led to an increase in performance. So what does an increase mean? It means reinforcements involved. If the behavior decreases, it's got to be punishment or extinction. Since the behavior increased, we know it's reinforcement. So the question becomes, what type of reinforcement? Each Tuesday, they've got a team building event. Whoever wins the event, what is the consequence? They get to leave work. So they get to escape or avoid work. So they are effectively escaping a situation. And when we have a consequence that leads to escape or avoidance, leaving essentially, what do we call that? Well, we call that negative reinforcement. We know it's reinforcement. The negative piece is that escape piece, right? So we are negatively reinforcing the team, whoever wins the event, by allowing them to escape work early. So if we look at A, positive reinforcement, it is reinforcement, but the consequence is not the addition, it's the subtraction of work. It's the ability to escape work. B, positive punishment. We know it's not punishment because the consequence is leading to an increase. And so C, negative reinforcement, must be our answer, because D, negative punishment, again, we know it's not punishment. It's an increase caused by this escape avoidance of work. Rick has had enough of his job and decides he is quitting tomorrow. Rick does like his coworkers, so since Rick manages so many processes, he spends the day writing step-by-step instructions for each process in a way that his coworkers can understand. What Rick is doing resembles what? All right, so a very applied question, and you might get questions that aren't necessarily directly related to, let's say, clinical work, right? This is a very specific question to Rick about quitting his job. And what are we looking at Rick? What is he doing? Well, we know Rick wants to help his coworkers out. And so there are processes, and he spends the day writing step-by-step instructions for each process. Now, what does that resemble? What act or what strategy do we use when we create step-by-step instructions for behaviors? A task analysis. Yes, this is just like taking a behavior, breaking it down, and creating step-by-step instructions for how to do that behavior. So if we look at B, task chaining, what's the difference between a task analysis and a task chain? With a task chain, we're actually teaching task analysis. Rick isn't teaching that task analysis yet. He's just creating it. And so by spending the day writing step-by-step instructions, he's performing a task analysis. It's not a functional behavior assessment. Rick isn't assessing his coworkers, right? He's simply breaking down his processes step by step. And it's not a functional analysis. A functional analysis involves manipulation of antecedents and consequences in order to identify functions. It's not what Rick is doing. Rick is creating a task analysis for these processes, which then can be taught using task chaining. David, a behavior technician, receives a follow request on social media from the mom of one of his clients. He has a good relationship with the family and the client and wants to maintain that good rapport. What should David do to remain ethical? This is always a difficult situation, especially now that the world is so connected. We have to maintain good relationships and good rapport with stakeholders, with clients, but we also have rules, right? We also have boundaries that we have to uphold. No dual relationships. So if David gets a follow request on social media from the mom of one of his clients, what should David do? And the answer should be pretty obvious, right? We have to maintain boundaries. So let's look at A. Accept the follow, but don't engage with the mom on social media. Even if he's trying to be nice, accepting that follow is already opening the door for potential issues. Maybe David won't engage, but what if the mom does? Just being friendly, but still, we've now entered into a new type of relationship with the mom that isn't strictly professional, and that's an issue. B, accept the follow in case he ever needs to get in contact with the mom in an emergency. There are other ways to do that that don't involve social media, which is a very personal type of relationship. C, decline the follow and inform his supervisor of what occurred. Yes, we can't ignore it, right? So if we look at D, ignore the request and continue providing services as usual. The mom's going to wonder, right? Or maybe she's going to be curious why David doesn't want to accept her request. These are real things that happen. So instead of pretending it doesn't happen, it's better to just be transparent about it, decline the follow, and then tell the supervisor, hey, I had to do this. It might be an issue, it might not be, but I wanted to let you know because one of our key ideas is to be open and honest with our supervisor and then let them handle it from there. So we can't ignore it, but we have to let the supervisor know and be aware of what's going on. So best thing David can do, decline that follow and then inform his supervisor of what occurred. Thank you for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Be sure to subscribe and share. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.